One last topic is just an update on the overall offense. The defense has been pretty steady. So let's talk a little bit about the offense. This is the weight that has been keeping the Bears down for this past season particularly, but also in 2018 a little bit. We had tons of stalling. So let's go through some of the updates that we've seen in the first couple days of training camp. So apparently there's been tons of energy at House Hall right now. Offense has been up tempo and playing with fire. So that's really positive news right off the bat, because Reese, we talked extensively throughout the offseason about how the Chicago Bears need to incorporate some sort of tempo and rhythm in their offense, because it seemed like they had none last year. And then as far as the running game goes, no updates. It doesn't look like it's been highly emphasized in camp yet, which, I don't know really what to think of that yet. But supposedly we're still waiting for some more wow moments on offense. But today, the second day, tight end and wide receiver play has supposedly been off the charts, and with the tight ends looking particularly dominant. So all pretty good news off the bat. Reese, any initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think, as far as the tempo is concerned, it's definitely something we need to see more in this offense. I think it's something that has helped Trubisky, especially in the past, in this offense, kind of in those 2-minute drill situations or whenever they've been up against it and they need to run no huddle. It seems like things have just kind of worked better, clicked better on the fly. Maybe it's reducing the play calls a little bit, or, just kind of simplifying the offense, which, I think there's something to be said for that. I think we've addressed, whether it be the red zone or other situational play where sometimes it seems like Nagy gets too cute, and maybe it's kind of the up-tempo play that, allows them to just kind of simplify and play, kind of a more fundamental football game. But it kind of has worked better for this Bears offense in the past. So seeing a little bit more of that intensity, some more of that urgency. I think people like to see offenses with urgency, and I think it tends to work out better. I'm not saying you need to throw time of possession out the window. I mean, of course, it's something that the Bears were actually quite awful with last season. But, if it's something that's going to get the Bears a couple extra first downs, it's going to be a lot better than the 3 and outs that they were putting up, just last season. So I definitely am here for that. And I'm also here for the better tight end play. I mean, us Bears fans have been starved of good tight end play for since Greg Olsen left. Honestly, maybe that's a little unfair to go all the way back to Greg Olsen. Zach Miller was good. Martellus Bennett
was good.
Was pretty good. At the same time, Bears haven't seen probably elite tight end level since, Greg Olsen played here. And I think that it's something that is so important under Nagy's offense. It's quite bad that the play of it was so bad last year. In 2018, Burton did all right until he ended up dealing with some injury issues. I think that, that along with the wide receivers have kind of quickly become the strength of this offense, with the question marks being, the offensive line and hopefully getting the run game to work up a little bit. But it doesn't surprise me that a lot of the passing weapons are looking good. So hopefully, the Bears can continue to get the ball in their hands, because that's going to be something that's going to be very important over the course of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, tempo is very key in, especially like West Coast offenses, having some sort of consistency, having some sort of, consistent yards and plays that you feel comfortable with and you can run and execute like the back of your hand. That's huge. That's huge. And that's something that I don't think we've had the past couple of years. The fact that we're seeing this in training camp is great news. It seemed like it took, as I said before, it took the entire period until we essentially would get so many delay of game calls these past 2 years. Like it's ridiculous on that regard. But just having plays that the offense feels comfortable with. We are going into the third year at Matt Nagy, which is a benefit to us. And, I'm happy to see, specifically the tight end play and wide receiver play increase. Tight ends looking particularly dominant. Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet looking good. That's huge for us because that's really going to help this offense out if we can get some sort of consistency there. I am interested to see more out of the running game. It might be a little bit skewed right now because not very many teams have the defensive lines that the Chicago Bears have. Not many people have Robert Quinn, Akeem Hicks, and Khalil Mack on the same defensive line. But right now, Robert Quinn isn't in there, and hey, Eddie Goldman isn't in there either. So I guess there's a little bit of on both sides of that. So ultimately, want to see more from the run game, but all positive news on the offense. I'm excited to see this offense finally hit the field.
It's gonna be good, and I mean, hopefully we get to hear a little bit more about what the run game is looking like over the course of camp, and like you said, some more of those wow plays. It'd be good to see the defense get beat a couple of times. I'm not really overly concerned about the defense, even if they look shaky in camp. I think that they can put things together. They're a pretty proven group of guys, so if it's at the expense of the defense looking good, that the offense starts to show up a little bit, I'm here for that. And because that's honestly, like you said, the biggest worry is the offense. It's been the weight that's been holding this team down, and if they can shore some of these things up, then they'll be a very formidable football team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to hear a little bit more on the offensive line. I haven't really heard much about Jermaine Ifedi. Haven't really heard much about Artavis Pierce and some of the other guys. Hell, I haven't even really heard about who's filling in for Robert Quinn right now. I think that's a question that we ought to be asking ourselves too. Obviously the Bears show to the media what they don't want to show other teams. So it might be a little bit more difficult to actually see any sort of, true, revealing plays or true revealing, information on this team until we actually get to the regular season where it's all on the line. But ultimately, looking at Detroit week 1, it's coming up in a couple weeks. I think probably about a month from yesterday or something like that. Not very close, very close.
Yeah, that's definitely very exciting, and yeah, it's getting close. And I think with there being a lack of preseason games, it's kind of going to sneak up on us, but it's going to be here very soon. And I think the Bears are kind of fortunate to have Detroit as a week 1 draw. Even if things don't go, if things don't go perfect, they still have a chance of winning that game. Allows them to figure things out a bit. At the same time, they can't take it casual. They can't take it, too easily, because if they do, then they'll get popped by Detroit. You can't really sleep on any NFL team. There's still enough talent, there's still enough capability there. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bears shape up. I'm sure they're focusing, for the season, for the long run, and but hopefully they don't get too far ahead of themselves.
And I view this week 1 game, and I just looked it up. It's 9/13, so what is that, like 25 days or so? So it's coming up really quick. We're really almost at the season. Hopefully nothing happens before that time. Hopefully the NFL doesn't get canceled. I'm really kind of worried about that with how things are going in the United States with this coronavirus, guys. Come on, wear a mask so we can have some football, please. But this is a confidence building game. I know the Lions made some changes, and we talked about it probably being about a net even throughout the year. Obviously, they get some more people back from injury, but Mitchell Trubisky has performed extraordinarily well against the Lions every single time he's played them since Nagy took over. The Lions run a primarily man defense, which Mitch Trubisky absolutely is able to kill. For those of you who watch a lot of Mitchell Trubisky film, you'll notice that he struggles a lot more against zone defenses than man defenses. So ultimately, I view the Bears as a far superior team than the Lions. And, if we don't really make some noise in this game, I'm going to be very worried about the Chicago Bears in the near future.
Yeah, I think a win is a win, and, but you can definitely have some worries about, what happens. So hopefully, first step is they go out there and can win the football game, no matter how it happens. But if they could show some promise on offense or on both sides of the ball, really show some good promise. I don't expect them to be a perfect football team, especially with how this offseason has been. I'm sure there is going to be a fair share of mistakes. But if they can look pretty well polished, then it'll be pretty promising, moving on to their future games.
Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcasts on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.